What happened in that third inning was something nobody in that stadium expected. And honestly, nobody watching at home expected it either. Because when Shohei Ohtani steps on that mound, you expect dominance. You expect composure. You expect the kind of calm, controlled performance that has defined his entire 2025 season. But in that third inning against the Padres, something shifted. Something felt different. And the moment it did, everything broke loose. Let's start from the beginning. Walk us through what actually happened in that third inning, because a lot of people are still trying to piece it together. Right, so going into the third inning, Ohtani had been relatively sharp. Not his best outing by any means, but he was managing the game well. His fastball was sitting around 97 to 98 miles per hour, and his sweeper was breaking late and low, exactly where he wants it. The Padres hitters were uncomfortable at the plate, which is exactly what Ohtani wants. But then something changed in his body language. You could see it even before the pitch was thrown. He stepped off the rubber twice. He looked toward the dugout. He rolled his neck and adjusted his grip multiple times. For a pitcher of his caliber, that kind of visible discomfort is unusual. That's what people are calling the strange behavior. And the moment the Padres bench noticed it, things escalated very quickly. What exactly did the Padres players do? Because from the footage, it looks like it went from tension to full confrontation in seconds. That's exactly right. What happened was that after Ohtani stepped off the rubber the second time, words were exchanged. Now the exact words haven't been officially confirmed, but according to multiple reporters who were close to the field, 2 Padres players, and we're talking about players who are not even currently at bat, started directing comments toward Ohtani from the dugout. These weren't just casual chirps. These were aggressive, targeted remarks aimed directly at him. And Ohtani, who is generally known for his incredible composure, visibly reacted. He turned toward the dugout. His catcher immediately jogged out to the mound. And then within seconds both benches were warned by the umpires. But the warning wasn't enough. Because the situation didn't stop there. What pushed it over the edge into an actual brawl? The breaking point came when one of those 2 Padres players stepped out of the dugout. That's the moment everything escalated beyond warnings and words. Once a player physically moves out of the dugout in that kind of charged atmosphere, it sends a signal to both teams. And the Dodgers responded immediately. Several Dodgers players moved toward the field, security personnel flooded the area, and within moments you had a full stadium confrontation. The 2 Padres players who initiated the situation were surrounded almost immediately by security and umpires. The ejections came fast. Both players were removed from the game, and the crowd, which had been buzzing with tension, absolutely erupted. Whether you were a Dodgers fan or a Padres fan in that stadium, you knew you were watching something that doesn't happen often. This wasn't just a benches clearing moment. This was a genuine confrontation triggered by deliberate provocation toward arguably the best player in the sport right now. From a player's perspective, how do you read that kind of situation? Because Ohtani is known for never showing emotion on the mound. What does it say that he visibly reacted? That's the most important question here, honestly. Because you're right. Ohtani is not the type to react. You can throw a pitch right at him in the batting box, and he'll just walk to first base without saying a word. He's ice. So when he visibly turned toward that dugout, that tells you something. It tells you that whatever was said crossed a very specific line. Not just competitive chirping, not just normal baseball trash talk. Something that was personal enough or disrespectful enough to get a reaction out of a man who almost never shows one publicly. And from a teammate's perspective, the moment your best player, your ace, your two-way superstar shows that kind of reaction, you move. You don't ask questions. You move. That's what the Dodgers did. And honestly, in that moment, I think most players would have done the same thing regardless of what team they were on. Now let's talk about the aftermath, because this is where it gets even more significant. Ohtani attending an MLB hearing is not something that happens casually. What does that process actually involve? So when something like this happens on the field, particularly when ejections are involved and there's a formal complaint or review triggered, MLB's office initiates a review process. Now, in Ohtani's case, the hearing wasn't because he was the aggressor. Let's be very clear about that. The hearing was called because there were questions about the sequence of events. What was the strange behavior in the third inning? Was there a violation of any conduct rule on Ohtani's part before the Padres players reacted? The league needs to establish a full picture before issuing any formal discipline or clearing anyone involved. So Ohtani attending that hearing was essentially him going on record to explain his perspective, his actions, and the context of everything that happened from his position on that mound. What do we actually know about what Ohtani said or presented at that hearing? Based on reports from sources close to the situation, Ohtani explained that his behavior in the third inning, the stepping off the rubber, the pauses, the visible discomfort, was entirely physical and strategic in nature. He had been feeling some tightness in his grip and was making real-time adjustments to his mechanics. This is actually something pitchers do more often than casual fans realize. When your fingers don't feel right on the seams of a baseball, everything changes. Your command changes. Your velocity changes. Your spin rate changes. So Ohtani was managing that in the moment. The strange behavior people saw wasn't emotional. It wasn't psychological. It was a pitcher making micro-adjustments mid-inning, which is a completely normal part of elite pitching at this level. The Padres players misread that, or chose to exploit it, and what followed was the result of that decision. From a competitive standpoint, does that explanation hold up? Because some people are saying the timing was suspicious. Honestly, yes, it holds up completely. And here's why. If you look at Ohtani's pitch data from that third inning, his release point shifted by a small but measurable amount on consecutive pitches. That kind of micro shift is exactly what happens when a pitcher is dealing with grip discomfort or mechanical inconsistency. It's not something you fake. The data backs up what he told the hearing. And the fact that after all the chaos settled and Ohtani eventually returned his focus to the mound, his next several pitches were back to his standard release point and velocity. That's a pitcher who found his adjustment mid-game and locked back in. The strange behavior wasn't strange at all when you understand what you're actually looking at. What does this entire incident say about Ohtani's position in the league right now? Because it feels like he's become a target in a way we haven't seen before. That's exactly what this tells you. When you reach a certain level in any sport, the opposition stops trying to just beat you on the field. They start trying to get inside your head. They start trying to disrupt your rhythm, challenge your composure, make you feel the pressure of the moment in a way that hurts your performance. The fact that two Padres players felt the need to take things to that level is actually a sign of how much respect, and how much fear, Ohtani commands at this point in the season. You don't provoke someone you're not worried about. You provoke someone whose dominance is making your team look helpless. And right now, with an ERA sitting at 0.74 and MVP votes pouring in from 30 of 35 analysts, Ohtani is making a lot of teams feel exactly that way. What happens next? Both in terms of any potential discipline and in terms of how this affects Ohtani going forward. The league will likely issue some level of formal response to the two ejected Padres players. Suspensions are possible depending on what the full review determines. For Ohtani, the hearing appears to have gone in his favor based on everything we know. No formal misconduct finding has been reported against him. And as for how this affects him going forward, if history tells us anything, it's that Ohtani doesn't carry baggage from moments like this. He processes, he refocuses, and he performs. That's what separates him from everyone else. You can try to rattle him. You can step out of a dugout, force a confrontation, get yourself ejected, and create chaos in a stadium full of people. And Ohtani will still take the ball for his next start, step on that mound, and make you look like you never should have said a word.